Thank you, everybody. Good afternoon, Des Moines. My name is Anand Ranganathan. I'm one of the co-founders of Unscrambl. Our core mission is to make analytics and business intelligence be easily accessible by everyone, especially non-technical business users. So we're pioneering a completely new way for people to explore and analyze data that we call conversation-driven business intelligence and analytics. So it was the core founding team, both Vibhor, who's the CEO, and myself. We both used to be part of the IBM Watson Research Center, done a whole bunch of work around natural language processing, machine learning, AI, big data. As a company, we've also been featured several times by Gartner in several of the hype cycles and other reports. In fact, about 3 years back, Gartner started creating a new category under their BI analytics reports called conversation analytics. And we're one of the pioneers in that space. So the problem we're tackling is that we believe analytics and BI tools have not really made all organizations data-driven. Many business users still struggle to get data and insights quickly enough. Most businesses don't think that they use data effectively enough and quickly enough to make the most informed decisions. So that's a big challenge. There's still a big gap between the people who need data to make decisions and the data itself. So one thing that's changed, though, in the last year and a half is that while business users are still struggling to get access to data, they're spending more and more time on collaboration platforms like Microsoft Teams, like Slack, Zoom, and others. I'm sure all of you have spent hours and hours on these platforms, hundreds of thousands of hours. So we are at the intersection of those two trends, the intersection of business users wanting quicker access to data and these same users spending more time on platforms like Microsoft Teams. So we bring data and insights within Teams. So we have an app in Teams called Cubo, where you can ask questions of your data in plain natural language. So for example, a chief revenue officer might ask questions like, why did my sales decline in February? A marketing user or digital user could ask questions like, what is my average cost per lead from Google ads or Facebook ads or Bing ads? A product manager could ask questions like, how many policies are expiring next month? They can ask all those questions in plain natural language, in English, and our system can convert those questions into queries to backend enterprise databases or data warehouses or data lakes, get back the answers, and show them in a seamless fashion back to end users. The most interesting thing about being part of a platform like Microsoft Teams is that it enables collaboration, where multiple people can be looking at the same group chat along with Cubo, our bot, and ask and analyze data in a collaborative fashion and get hopefully a common understanding of what the data is painting. So the way Cubo is set up is that it sits in between users and multiple data sources. So one of the big advantages of our system is that it can deal with silo data sources, which many enterprises, especially in the insurance space, are prone to having. So Cubo acts as a single interface where you could ask questions on 5 or 10 different data sources. Cubo behind the scenes will pick the right data source to go and fetch the relevant data from. Today, we support both a web-based interface as well as Microsoft Teams, and down the line, we'll have Slack, Zoom, and Cisco WebEx integrations too. So I'll show you a quick demo because it's a completely new way of exploring data. You have to see how it works. So this is a demo on a Fema data set on natural disasters and some data about the National Flood Insurance Program that Fema partly runs. This is a web interface. So the way you interact with Cubo is by first creating a new thread where you can start asking questions. So here I'm going to create a new thread. It's going to be called the Fema demo analysis. And at the bottom, I'm going to start asking a question, total number of disasters declared by Fema yearly. So the system understands that, gets back the answers, and then you can show the visualization. We see a big spike in 2020. Let's analyze further. We go down and see by incident type. And now one thing that will become apparent is that there were actually about 8,000 pandemic-related disasters declared by Fema in 2020. Some other kinds of questions. So what are the top 5 disasters in terms of incident duration? So these are longest-running disasters, and you can see the top ones are fires and the poisoning in Flint. Cubo can also generate insights automatically. So for instance, it found on its own that Florida has a surprisingly large number of freezing disasters. Another interesting one, actually, for the Iowa crowd is that Iowa tends to have relatively smaller number of tornado disasters than you might expect for a Midwestern state. So that's kind of interesting, I thought. Another finding over here, The average insurance premium of policies for high-rise condominiums in flood zone V18 is very high for the National Flood Insurance Program. So these are insights that Cubo is automatically able to extract on its own with minimal human guidance from the data in a completely automated fashion. And that's why we want a bot like Cubo to really play a big role in not just allowing people to ask interesting questions, but also surfacing interesting things and telling it back to end users. We have a very similar interface in Microsoft Teams. So if any of you use Teams in your enterprises, you can actually look for Cubo in the Teams App Store. And you can install it. You can start asking questions like, as a revenue officer, what is the sales or revenue 2020? Show me in Texas. Show me for a certain age group, for a certain gender, for a certain customer segment. You can ask all these questions in plain English. And the whole goal is now to drive data democratization, make it easy for all users' enterprises to access data and get interesting insights seamlessly in their favorite collaboration platforms like Microsoft Teams. And finally, I'll end the demo by saying that you can also ask slightly more complex questions, like why did revenue decline in a given month? And Cubo behind the scenes is going to try to understand the data and come up with some interesting findings that revenue declined in May because there was a big decline in revenues from a certain customer segment or from a certain product or from a certain payment channel. It's again going to uncover those facts automatically. So we've been live for almost 8 to 9 months with several customers. We believe we're about 2 to 3 years ahead of the competition in the BI analytics space, especially in this area around natural language access to data within collaboration platforms. So we have several customers that are live, including the insurance space. And we also have strong partnerships with companies like Microsoft and AWS, being part of the Teams App Store or the AWS Marketplace and other such marketplaces. So our key ask at this point is that we're looking to work with innovative insurance companies. We have a very unique pilot program, a 6-week pilot program, which can take less time too, where we can set up Cubo on your data sets and in a very short period of time, have your business users start asking questions in plain English on your data. And finally, we'll have a guarantee that the Cubo will discover automatically on your data some interesting thing that you did not know of before or your money back. So if you have any questions, if you're interested in learning more, I'll be here today and tomorrow and day after actually too, and happy to chat further. Thank you, everybody.